This intersection was identified as high risk and has recorded, unfortunately, fatal and severe crashes at the intersection. And one of the primary issues that we have at that intersection is the angle of the intersection.
You hit that angle, and right when you think that you've got it and you start to go out, then you see the top of a car. And that's what makes it so dangerous.
That's correct.
This is Waxhaw Happenings, the podcast. We talk about what matters to Waxhaw residents and make it easy to understand what's going on in your town. I'm Bradley Lucore, your Public Information Officer and Communications Manager for the town of Waxhaw. In today's episode, we're talking about a traffic project that's going to make our roads safer and more efficient. The Pine Oak Road and Waxhaw-Marvin Road intersection realignment and traffic signal project. Construction is just getting underway, so we're breaking down what's changing, why it matters, and what to expect if you drive through there. Joining me today is Waxhaw's Assistant Town Engineer, James Kelly, the man who's overseeing the project and knows it inside and out. So let's get started. James, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bradley.
Now, you're going to be a very popular man and a recurrent guest on the Waxhaw Happenings podcast with all of our upcoming projects. But today, we're here to talk about the intersection of Pine Oak and Waxhaw-Marvin roads. So let's start with what's there today. And for folks who haven't driven through there or don't know it by name, can you describe the intersection as it exists right now?
Yes, so we're talking about the intersection of Pine Oak and Waxhaw-Marvin Road. It's currently an unsignalized intersection, so no signal there exists today. And one of the primary issues that we have at that intersection is the angle of the intersection. For folks that do drive through there, you'll know that there's a very sharp angle and a stop sign that exists currently today.
Right. And so when you go through that intersection, if you're coming from Pine Oak, you hit that angle, and whether you go left or whether you go right, there's still that same risk when the hill pops over the top. It's kind of hard to see when traffic's coming. And right when you think that you've got it and you start to go out, then you see the top of a car, right? And that's what makes it so dangerous.
That's correct. So there's an existing sight distance issue today, and that angle matters a lot because generally, when you have a skewed angle like that, it's a much unsafer intersection. So what we're doing is we're realigning that intersection to be a 90-degree intersection, signalize it, but that right angle minimizes the confusion for drivers and really helps to prevent those high-speed turns that you would see in a skewed intersection. And along with the intersection will be drivers will have to come to a stop at the red light. So folks making that left turn or right turn out of Pine Oak will have a much safer turning movement and be able to see those stopped vehicles.
So when you're going through Waxhaw-Marvin, instead of going straight through, you're going to have to come to a three-way stop, add a traffic signal. So that's what we call a controlled stop.
Correct.
And then you can keep going, which will allow the nice, safe left turn and right turn off of Pine Oak.
That's correct.
Okay, that's great. I think a lot of people really, I think they'll understand once they see it. And I think that they'll appreciate it, especially anybody coming off of Pine Oak. Now let's talk about the intersection and how it relates to traffic safety. This has come on to the Waxhaw Safety Action Plan before. So can you tell us about where does this intersection rank and what's the kind of the history that put it on your radar to get this realignment and controlled turn signal?
Yeah, so to start, as far as ranking, this intersection ranks very high, if not one of the highest intersections within town to address from a safety standpoint within our safety action plan. So for the folks that don't know, these two roads are actually DOT roads, and the town worked with DOT and several other partners to develop our safety action plan. And as a part of that, this intersection was identified as high risk. And has recorded, unfortunately, fatal and severe crashes at the intersection. So the improvements will help to mitigate those on the DOT roadways.
So let's get into that fix. What exactly are we changing at the intersection? What during construction, especially, what are people going to see? The movement? Is it going to impact us if we can drive on that road still? What's that going to look like?
Yeah, so as far as the overall improvements, we're going to be realigning the intersection to that 90-degree angle that I talked about earlier. We're going to make it more of that perpendicular angle. We're also going to add turn lanes for folks, so that way, if you're trying to make a turn, you don't have to keep everyone behind you waiting. Um, and we're also going to add that traffic signal, and that's really the major improvement. Is that traffic signal will bring folks to a stop where you can't see today, so that way, folks, when they make that turning movement, they'll be able to safely make that movement, knowing that those folks are stopped there. Also, as far as overall construction impacts, good news is we thought about that within the traffic control plans. So, as a part of the traffic control plans, most of the traffic will actually be behind a barrier, so you can still utilize the intersection throughout construction. With that said, drivers may have to experience some lane closures and those sorts of things as we do traffic shifts.
So construction starts August 17th, and it's supposed to go for 7 full months during the construction process. And like you said, there's going to be construction barriers placed up, and they're basically going to create a brand new road section, leaving the other one open.
That's correct. Yes. So the first part of the traffic control plans is to have those barriers in place. So that way the new roadway can be constructed, shift it back over to the existing roadway to do the other completion. So folks will still be able to access the intersection. And then last but not least, have some interim lane closures to finalize the project.
And how do they connect that at the end? So we're creating a new road. What happens to the road that people were using? And then how do they connect the new road to make that angle?
Yeah, so the first phase is the existing road remains in place to be used while the new roadway is under construction. Once the new roadway is constructed, we'll then flip folks over to that new roadway and do the work on the existing roadway as it is today. And I think an exhibit will help share that a little bit better. And I'll get that over to you, Bradley.
Okay, so for folks who are watching right now on Spotify or YouTube, you should see this on your screen. And if you're listening, you can see the design on waxhaw.com/traffic projects.
Yeah, and I would just add, is just think about it as a parallel roadway. So the roadway is going to be parallel to the existing one, and we're just going to have some shifts in between.
Okay. Now, who's involved in making this happen? I know the town is funding the majority of this project, but there's also some involvement from developers. Is that right?
That's correct. So the town is very fortunate in this position. Now, even though we still have the lion's share of the project, we do have some developments, specifically the Prescott Village development and the Cottage Park developments, that are participating toward these improvements as a part of their offsite mitigations. So that
So
will have
explain that. What does offsite mitigation mean?
So offsite mitigations are really whenever a development comes in to be proposed, they have to mitigate for the uh, traffic patterns caused by their development.
They have to solve the traffic flow and volume issues that they're going to cause by bringing more people onto the roads. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Keep going.
So as a part of that, these two developments are financially contributing to this intersection, along with other intersections in the area. But that will help to lower the burden on our taxpayers.
So I think that's a good thing to point out too. We, the town, the taxpayers, are not responsible for this entire project, and actually, it's paid partly from developers who are creating new homes and putting more people on the roads.
That's correct.
Okay, that's great to know. Any advice for drivers during this 7 month process when we're driving through that area? We see the construction cones. Yeah, what's your best advice for that?
My best advice is to be patient and to slow down. So I know folks get flustered as they travel along the roadway and they experience some delays. I would just anticipate some delays within that area as construction commences, and then also just slow down and show the construction workers the same respect as if you were in that position as well. Imagine just a construction worker sitting there by the side of the road and someone flying by them at 45, 50 miles per hour. I would just slow down and help show those folks a little bit of respect while they complete the work.
It's pretty jarring to be standing right next to the edge of the road when a vehicle comes 45 miles down the road next to you. And even though they're not going to be out in the roadways or, hanging out in the lane, it's still good to slow down through there because you never know what happens in construction. Somebody could miss a step or, have to move because of a piece of equipment. It's just best to just play it easy, play it safe.
Correct. And one final thing is we will have construction signage out there to let folks be aware of the situation and the changing traffic conditions. So, last little bit for folks just to know is follow that signage.
And you were talking about putting up those changeable message signs too. So as you approach from either side, there should be a big sign on the side of the road that we usually use for these kind of things. It's going to say something like slow down or road work ahead,
Correct.
construction ahead.
Yes, you got it. You got it. So to start, we'll start with by saying, "Hey, road work ahead," to let folks know that there's upcoming road work and to please slow down.
Very good. Now, one last thing that we kind of touched on, but we haven't really addressed specifically is this Project Vision Zero. We talked about the safety action plan, but we had a big push for Vision Zero in the spring, especially around Kaleidoscope. If you went to Kaleidoscope Festival, you probably got asked to take a picture with the picture frame and scan the QR code, take the Vision Zero pledge. Explain what is Vision Zero and why do we care about it so much?
So, Vision Zero is really a federal initiative by the Federal Highway Administration. But the town of Waxhaw supports it. And essentially, it is eliminating all fatal and severe injury crashes by a certain timeline. In our case, it's by 2045. We want to eliminate all fatal and severe injury crashes by that timeline. And how do we do that? We do that by implementing these transportation improvements to mitigate those risks that we currently have.
So this Pine Oak Waxhaw-Marvin intersection is one of those steps because, as you said, it's on the high injury network. It's a spot that's had crashes, even a fatal crash. So once we get this adjusted, what you're saying is it'll get us closer to achieving our goal.
Correct. It'll get us closer to achieving our goal. And really, this intersection is one of our highest priority fixes toward that goal.
All right. Well, James, we appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Hopefully, folks have learned a lot more about this project, got to learn a little bit more about you and what you do. Is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for having me, Bradley. Look forward to more.
That wraps up today's episode. Thank you to James Kelly for joining us and walking through what's ahead for Pine Oak and Waxhaw-Marvin roads. If you drive through that intersection, remember to slow down. Waxhaw-Marvin and Pine Oak will still be open. You can still use it and watch for signage as the work gets underway. Now, for project updates, you can visit waxhaw.com/traffic projects or follow the town of Waxhaw on social media. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, send us an email to communications@waxhaw.com. Stay tuned for the next episode of Waxhaw Happenings, available anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Bradley Lucore, your Public Information Officer and Communications Manager for the town of Waxhaw. Until next time.